Welcome back to the Tasting Room, episode 15. I did have to look that up.
Yep.
Every time. Was it last time we didn't know the episode number either?
I think we even said the wrong number.
We might have. Yeah. It all runs together. It's because of this and because of this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But actually, I caught myself. I actually didn't say what beer we drank. We drank.
What did we bring, Austin?
We brought the Castelline Kolsch.
I think I said Castelline.
Oh, you did? Okay,
yeah, but
good.
If people were watching for the first time, they don't know that's your Kolsch.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Who do we got today? Who'd you bring with you?
We brought Max Shafer all the way up from Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
No, I think you're right. I think it's down.
Down. Yeah, he went down.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool deal to have him here in Tulsa.
Yeah.
I've been looking forward to it for about 6 years now. He and I graduated from Siebel and Duman's Academy as master brewers together. And so he's been hearing about the cabin, about the brewery for a long, long time. And finally, after the COVID shenanigans and whatnot, we got him down.
It's a fun conversation. Let's just get right to it. You ready?
Absolutely.
All right. Here's our interview after the break.
Cheers.
Hey, I'm John. I'm one of the partners here at Grassfire Creative. We are a production company. We do animation, video production, live production, anything you need to creatively tell both your story and your business's story. Along with the content that we create, we also provide the strategy behind how to get it in front of the eyeballs that matter to you. We're located right in the middle of the United States in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so no matter where you are, we're just a short flight away. Bottom line is we are very excited to both meet you and tell your business's story. Please do reach out to us one of the ways below via email or phone number, and check out more about us at our website, grassfirecreative.com.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Tasting Room.
Yeah, this is the first. I was telling Jordan earlier, like, this is a start to a Wednesday right here, boys.
Yeah,
we got some beer and some bourbon
interesting
at 10:45 in the morning on a Wednesday. So,
hey, but when you're talking to two brewers,
I mean,
that's not out of the ordinary.
My liver needs to catch up.
Oh, well, yeah. I think ours is just deteriorating faster.
Yeah, mine's working through a bunch of stuff. So
Yeah.
this will be great. We'll get right back into it.
Who'd you bring today?
Max Shafer from Roadhouse Brewing Company up in Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
I'm so excited for this because I love your brewery. I really do. Yeah. I told you that yesterday at Mother Road. We'll get to that.
We'll
get to that.
Yeah, his beer is awesome. Multi-medal winner. I don't know how many hundreds of medals you have, but
they're all on your mantle, right?
Definitely.
Your mom collect them.
Yeah, it's how I roll. I just like to look at them every morning.
Sometimes you wear them, just depending on, yeah.
But Max and I graduated from Siebel and Duman's Academy in Germany together.
I was going to ask the relationship and how it was formed because I didn't know if you were a skier up in Jackson Hole or how that happened. So it was over in Germany? Over
in Germany and Chicago. And had a blast, obviously, during school together. And
I could imagine.
We've got our big class and then a little coalition outside of that really keep up really well together, and we try to do collabs and whatnot when we can. But this is actually Max's first time in Oklahoma.
Really?
Sure is.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, I'll ask the first question then.
Go for it.
Because I'm curious, and we did this with, who was it from Balcones? It was Balcones, right? Yeah. Your thought of what Oklahoma would be, Tulsa would be, versus the reality of what Tulsa is. How different was it?
I'd say it's pretty good and different. I flew down from Chicago, so flew through the Midwest and staring out the window.
Saw the flyover states.
Totally. And I was like, wow, all right. I mean, Wyoming, and I actually live over in Idaho, so probably equally as forgotten about states in some regards. But it landed. My wife was like, "What's Oklahoma like?" And she's from Denver, so she's kind of got some little bit
shout
of
out Denver.
Yeah.
I love Denver.
And she's like, it's pretty flat for sure, but there's a lot of water. So that really shocked me how much water we flew over coming down from the north. But I've been really floored, really blown away. We've had some great food, had some great drinks. The brewing scene down here is pretty fantastic. So I'd say, I came into it with probably a pretty typical stereotype of what Oklahoma might be like, and I'm leaving with a much newer and greater, found love for what Tulsa and what I'd imagine other populations in Oklahoma are like. So
Tulsa is unique, and I'm not going to talk shit on other cities in Oklahoma because Oklahoma City has stuff that Tulsa doesn't have. We would, but Tulsa is very unique in that way. I ran into you guys at Mother Road yesterday. How would you describe Oklahoma barbecue to people that haven't had it?
I love barbecue. I love it. I asked Austin, I was like, what is this like? Is like Oklahoma its own kind of barbecue, you know, like, or does it kind of, is it a
bologna
blend?
goes into the mix a little bit, so that's kind of a thing.
You know, and I got a poultry dish, and I wanted to see that. You know, I think it's like me walking into a brewery and being like, what do you got for a yellow lager?
Sure,
what's your Pilsner like? And it was turkey. And that was pretty fun. So
nice.
that was absolutely delicious. You know, the ribs were beautiful. It was some of the best brisket I've ever had.
So that was 1907 you guys had yesterday. If we have time today, I want to take you down the alley to Oakhart. Their turkey is the best turkey I've ever had from a barbecue restaurant.
Wow.
And I know that's saying something. It's just, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
So this is smart. I don't want to start at 10:45 with what proof is this? I don't even know. 113 proof. So let's get the palate ready with what'd you bring? Castellan?
So I actually brought this purposefully. I know that I've brought this to the podcast before, but I brought this purposefully mainly because Max and I, obviously German trained brewers, mindset, whatnot. But we actually brewed a Doppelstücke for our collaboration.
English, please.
So, sorry, that wasn't that's an actual
That's a flex.
word.
That's a flex. So is it a Doppelbock?
So kind of, but so there's a beer style called an alt beer, which is made like 50 kilometers west of Cologne, and those two cities rival each other. Their rivalry of Oklahoma City to Tulsa is way deeper.
Okay.
So
yeah, Doppelstücke. We were drinking some when we were out there in Munich during school, and it was really fun. And I'm like, what is this? And the best way I can describe it, it's a kind of a heavily hopped German amber ale.
Interesting.
But it's got alt beer roots.
I don't think I've had many darker beers that were heavily hopped.
Yeah. It should be fun.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd say heavily hopped for like in the
for
German
a darker
world.
beer. Yeah.
And especially for the Germans too. You know, we make a lot of IPAs. So when I think of heavily hopped, I think of heavily hopped. And we were kind of joking at it. You know, we threw, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 pounds at this beer. And it's like, that's a heavily hopped German beer.
Yeah. And we're going to dry hop it.
Yeah. So
okay.
It should be fun.
Yeah.
It should be really nice.
So for the rivalry, would you say it's a Bayern Munich, Bayern Leverkusen type rivalry? Let me go sports on you with Germany.
No, definitely.
Okay. All right.
Definitely.
So I guess I'll ask
go
first
ahead.
question.
You're up.
So you've seen and lived and grown up in Jackson Hole, and it's kind of, obviously Tulsa's, it's actually a larger town than Jackson, but Jackson gets 90 times more people through it than Tulsa does on a regular basis. So what have you seen Jackson's number one point of growth and why it has blown up to what it is to today?
Wow. Yeah. There's been so much different growth in Jackson, which has been crazy. My grandparents moved there in the 80s or so, and very different town. Austin and I were reminiscing about what Jackson, was the Old West still.
Sure.
30 years ago. It's changed. We've had a lot of money move in. Wyoming's got a wonderful income tax-free component to the state, so we have a lot of big wealth who comes in and likes to be in Jackson. I think, a lot of the other growth that's occurred has just become a really cool little center and hub in Wyoming. There's a great arts community, great food, great beverage, and obviously the recreation is just endless. You can walk out your back door pretty much in any residential part of Jackson and get on a mountain bike or, start hiking, whatnot. All of our rivers and our lakes.
Yeah, so, we got in the car from your house, and it was a 30-minute drive to the backside of the Tetons.
Ooh.
Yeah, pretty sweet.
Yeah,
that's
not bad.
That's a unique skiing mountain and place too, because I've been there. I love Jackson. I've been there once, and it was so icy. It was much icier than the Rockies than I would get going into the mountains and just outside of Denver. when I was living there, and it caught me off guard. A, it's steep.
Yeah.
And B, it's icy. And that's a weird combo if you're trying to ski.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. When it's icy, it's icy. And
Right.
It's bad.
Right.
But, we get some phenomenal snow. So, and obviously that's another big draw. Jackson, let's go ski Jackson.
Yep.
And a lot of people come there to ski it in the winter. And unlike, the Front Range and the I-70 corridor, you really just have Jackson. We've got our small little mountain over on the backside, Grand Targhee. There's the locals hill in Jackson called Snow King, which has like some of the steepest runs in the
No
US.
kidding.
Yeah, pretty wild.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, they just wrapped up this past weekend I think it's the international or maybe the national snowmobile hill climb championship.
Oh, wow.
So it's guys trying to high point on Snow King, ripping up.
That would be so
snowmobiles
much fun
fast.
to watch.
Oh, you could throughout the entire town all week. You just hear the brrrr, brrrr, and you're like,
I love that.
It's hill climb.
Here it is.
I want to push on the ski part of it for a second. In a town like Jackson Hole, do you find business to be, what am I trying to say, based on time of year? So like when you get that influx of skiers, business is hopping, and then in the summer, I'm assuming people still come to hike, but do you see a distinct difference in seasons as far as business?
But definitely a huge distinct change in our business in the seasons, both with clientele and in numbers. It's pretty expensive to come ski Jackson and also to get there. It's really hard to get to the
By
town.
the way, when I started going there, I think a ski lift ticket was $20.
Oh, totally. I think
Boy, what was that, like 30 years ago? God bless.
It's $201 a day now.
That's insane.
So if you think about taking your family out to go ski for a couple of days, I mean, just to sit on the chair is going to potentially cost you anywhere from $800 to $1,000 for a family of 4 to 5. So we see a very different clientele in the winter. It just kind of prices some people out. So we don't see as many people who are coming into Jackson in the winter to ski as we do tourists in the summer. I think most recently the town of Jackson reported like June 1st through Labor Day, we see anywhere from 5 to 6.5 million people.
Wow. That surprises me. Okay.
It's a ton, and we get a lot of people who fly down to Utah and get rent a car, and they'll go to all the national parks down in southern Utah, drive up, you can Grand Teton, Yellowstone, keep going up to Glacier. So we get these pretty cool little, influxes of people who pack up a van and maybe drive out from wherever and just do a family vacation. It's one of our flagship beers is actually called Family Vacation. And in the summer, you get all those people who are like, oh my gosh, look at this, we're on family vacation, and pick our 6-pack and
my
our
beer.
Gold Nail up, and it's perfect. So, and so in the summer too, it's also a very different clientele. I mean, beer drinking in the summer in Jackson is pretty heavy compared to maybe the winter where people might be drinking wine and cocktails.
I'd assume there's a lot of patios in Jackson Hole.
Ton of patios. Yeah. Our brew pub is right on the town square in Jackson, and we have this beautiful deck. It's the only deck. We're on the second story of a building, and it looks out over the square. So there's some great patio spaces around, and so it's a very different clientele. But we see a lot more people in the summer, and then we completely, I wouldn't say die, but everything shuts down in our shoulder seasons, so as soon as kids are back in school over Labor Day, we see a pretty steep decline up until about Thanksgiving. And so it slows down a lot. The parks start closing. And then in the spring, so right about now, actually probably next week, all the mountains will start closing and town will just completely shut down. Restaurants shut down.
You get your vacation then.
Exactly. Yeah. Just pure shoulder season. We've got about 70 so people on.
What do you mean by that? Shoulder season?
Like kind of on the shoulders of our peak seasons, right? So like kind of fades off for us. And we've got about 70 people on our payroll at our pub, at our brew pub, and all of them disappear this time of year. They go down to Moab, get dirt bike, you're getting a little stir crazy.
Yeah.
You want to get your son in. So the town disappears. And it's kind of fun. It's a nice time for locals to get out and explore and get ready.
Get to know your own city again.
Yeah, exactly. Go out to eat. Normally you can't go out, get a reservation anywhere. So it's our time to go out and see what everyone's doing in town. And it's a fun time.
Yeah.
It's only calm before the storm.
I would probably say the only thing that kind of mirrors in Tulsa that kind of mantra of like the town emptying is like Memorial Day or spring break, and everybody
Labor
goes,
Day, Memorial Day, July 4th.
Everyone goes to
the lake. Yeah.
Everyone goes to the lake. Like I've had a lot of people ask, like, "Oh yeah, are you excited for Memorial Day at the brewery? You're probably going to be really busy."
It's the slowest weekend of the year.
We're dead. Crickets. I mean,
now the 2 days leading up to it,
2 days leading up,
people come by cans and do
to-go sales are out the wazoo and whatnot. But we don't. How long is your shoulder season where the town empties?
I'd say it's all of April and pretty much all of May.
Well, now I know when to go.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually, this is a pro tip. The fall is the time to come.
Okay.
After Labor Day, September, October.
Ooh.
It's still beautiful.
Do you get early snow?
We do get early snow up high. Yeah. Sometimes we'll get snow in the valley by Halloween or so, but
the mountains aren't open, right?
The mountains aren't open.
Okay.
They open right about Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Jackson opens, I believe, Thanksgiving Day.
What a fun way to spend Thanksgiving.
Oh,
that would be awesome.
Totally. It's a lot of fun.
Eat some turkey and go ski, or vice versa. Go ski and eat some turkey. I want to ask about the brewery as my actual question.
Go for it.
Because when I was, I don't remember who I met from Roadhouse at GABF back in 2018 when I was in Denver. But I picked up on it then, and then reading the website, I feel like you might be the biggest foodie brewery in the country, possibly. Now, that's like Torst has like a Michelin star restaurant in their kitchen, so maybe not. But talk to me about the influence of food on the brewery and the beer on food, because I know it's a symbiotic thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Roadhouse started back in 2012 or so. We have two co-owners, a gentleman named Colby Cox and then his business partner, Gavin Fine, and they came together to create Roadhouse at one point. And Gavin, at the time, he's been in Jackson for, I think, just north of 20 years, and he's from Chicago. He cut his teeth up at Let Us Entertain You, and then started working at some of the restaurants in Jackson, went to culinary school and all that. And so he has about 7 restaurants in Jackson already on his own. And so when Colby approached Gavin about putting in a brewery, he was like, we should put a brewery in a barbecue place. And so it was out towards Jackson Hole Mountain Resort. And so we do a lot of other fun things. We've got a USDA certified butcher shop associated with our company.
No, now you're speaking my language.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And
All
actually,
right.
they're just across the parking lot from us at the production brewery. And they do sausages and all sorts of great cuts of meat for all of our restaurants. We have an ice cream manufacturing company that sells ice cream sandwiches and packed pints, and a catering company, so food, and a baker, all this stuff. So we like to make everything in house. Pull our own mozzarelas and stuff for the restaurants.
So it really is a food venture as well as a brewery.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like food is definitely up at the forefront for us as a brewery. So we started making our own beer at the original brewery back in 2012 and 2013, so we could distribute it to some of our smaller restaurants, kind of, making beers that would go with the cuisine. We've got anything from Italian restaurants to a raw bar, French bistro style. We've got kind of an Asian French influence restaurant. So we've got a lot of different things.
And that's
really
all
fun.
around Jackson? Or is it outside of Jackson
It's all
as well?
in Jackson.
Okay.
Yep. So about 4 of them are right in town Jackson, and the others are out at the ski mountain.
Okay.
And so eventually, and then where I came into the game was to take our original 7-barrel brew house and scale it up to our 30-barrel production facility for larger distribution and whatnot. And at the same time, we were closing the original brewery. To move it, we got an opportunity to take over the space on the town square where our brew pub now sits, and we have a 5-barrel brew house in there. And
I love that
huge
spot.
kitchen.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. And so we've got a culinary team in there that's like so driven with the food and how do we get involved with the food and the beer. We make sure when we're brewing beers, we can brew pretty eclectic things. For example, we did a ramen night. We do a ramen night all through the winter on Mondays. We donate.
I love this place.
It's pretty fun.
Golly.
Our executive sous chef, he nerded out on ramen. He was making all of his broths homemade. He was doing all this stuff, trying to figure out how to make his noodles, braising his
get the
porks.
dashi right, and
exactly,
get all that. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So we at the time we made a yuzu rice lager, that we could specifically pair for ramen night.
How good is that?
And so it's a lot of fun where we can work on those recipes with the chefs. We did a bison short rib all winter that uses oats, and we called it Brewer's Risotto.
I'm hungry, man.
So we would
Brewer's
actually make risotto. Yeah.
Nice.
So they would take the flaked oats from the brew house,
Yeah.
and then we'd actually grab some of the wort off of the brew that day, usually a lighter beer, and then instead of using white
cool
wine
is that?
for a risotto, we'd make it with wort and make risotto that way. So we
That's
love to
That's
play
so
with
cool.
it. Yeah.
So brag on yourself for a second in your brewery. Would you say, because of all of those concepts and restaurants and all of that as far as the footprint for food in Jackson Hole, that you guys are one of the big dogs?
I would definitely say so.
Yeah.
Not only with the scale of restaurants we have, but also, the presentation and all the effort that goes in behind the menus. It's definitely, the owner is Gavin Fine. and in his restaurant group is called the Fine Dining Restaurant Group. But
What
it truly
what
is
a name to be in that business,
totally,
right?
totally.
God,
So
that's
to
meant
have that,
be, yeah.
it's pretty perfect. So there's some other great restaurants. Don't get me wrong. There's some great food in Jackson, and I love eating at all of them. But Gavin definitely has a good little thing going with all of his.
And
spots.
do all of them? If you go to them, do you know that it's affiliated with Roadhouse?
You might.
Or do you hide that a little bit?
Yeah, you might know it. I think as a tourist coming into town, you probably would have no idea.
Okay. So it doesn't say like so-and-so a Roadhouse concept or anything like that?
No, correct. Okay. So we're under the umbrella. So it is really like the Fine Dining Restaurant Group, and they're our sister company.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
There's the Roadhouse Brewery Group, which is our production facility, and then our brew pub, and then the Fine Dining Restaurant Group manages the brew pub for us because we're brewers at heart, and we didn't want to even go down that road and try and do it. So we're all integrated in a sister company, and so you wouldn't really know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
As an outsider, I can answer that question because we had dinner. Goodness, it was like a restaurant with a bottle shop.
Oh yeah,
in it.
Yeah, Bin 22.
Yeah, and
I actually went there.
Yeah.
I like that place.
It's a cool place.
Yeah,
so
that's really cool.
tapas
so that's their place.
See, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, it
Cool.
it is so different that you wouldn't if
Yeah.
you were just to go a walker on the street. Nope, you wouldn't know.
Interesting.
yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So we keep them pretty separate. If you're pretty savvy in the craft beer world and you happen to look at all the handles in these restaurants and you see that.
So I did notice that, but I
Yeah.
didn't know if that's just because we were in Jackson and it was Roadhouse. I didn't know if it was why it was set up that way, but it makes sense now.
Totally.
Okay.
All the handles but one are usually Roadhouse handles, which is a lot of fun. We have an Italian restaurant out in the village, and so the other handle is a Peroni handle. And,
Of course.
We have other, I think we have Stella on it, our French bistro type thing. So otherwise it's Roadhouse. So if you're paying attention, you see all the red and white handles, you're like, something's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe we should get a bearded theologian handle up there or a cast line.
Yeah.
So is this, and I know I'm asking like 5 questions.
You're
are
good.
owed a
You're
question.
good. No.
Is the beer that you guys are brewing, the word I asked, the German word, is that going to be up like at your spots in Jackson? Are you going to put it on?
Probably not. They'll probably just serve it down here.
Gotcha.
So Austin and Lisa and some of the other Cabin Boys gang, they came up. It was probably 3 years.
It was just Lisa and I.
It was just Lisa and yeah. So it was about three years ago or so. And we brewed a beer up there on our pilot system.
Gotcha.
And that right. We brewed 2 beers.
Yeah.
And so we brewed those, and those just stayed up there.
So how does that work? I notice everyone loves to do collabs, and I love when people do collabs.
Yeah.
Is it the brewery in which you go to, whoever's traveling? So let's say the home brewery, do they then basically keep that beer? Or do you guys share? Do you send kegs out? Like, how does that work?
So you could, if you wanted to skirt the lines of legalities.
Oh, so it's a legality thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, doing a here-there collaboration, like, allows so much freedom because there's no paperwork to be signed.
Gotcha.
No contracts.
So this was the return trip.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Long overdue.
Like,
Gotcha.
Like, let's say...
Well, COVID happened.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
things,
Yeah.
Like, let's say we wanted to distribute
You're
this
forgiven.
beer. We wanted to distribute this beer that Max and I made here this week. Up there, we'd have to get like a 1-day
That makes perfect
distribution
sense. Okay.
contract, and it would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
It'd be a nightmare.
I'll shut up now and let you ask a question.
No.
No, but that makes perfect sense. I didn't think about the legality of it and the taxes and the whatever else.
Yeah, just keeping it in house, and it's a great, fun way that brewers really, Max and I probably have a different perspective of collaborations than most brewers. One, it's about relationships, but 2, I always encourage my team to come away from a collaboration and learn something from each other.
Yeah.
Whether it's about the beer that you're making, but usually, the beer that we're making as a collaboration almost becomes an afterthought of all of the conversations and collaboration of like, why do you do this? What do you do with your
talk to me about your
biofine?
process here. Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
That's kind of the more important thing for us. I don't know.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I think we both kind of have like the same brewery per capita, both Tulsa and Jackson. We've got a fair bit of breweries in Jackson, and we've got fantastic relationships with all of them. But it's great to bring in other people who are brewing somewhere else who you don't talk to every day, and just getting that chance to ask those questions. Like, what are you doing? Why is this the process? And it's amazing. You know, my dad's an architect, and he has to recert his architect certification every year. And as soon as I've been brewing for about 10 years, and I have to do all sorts of stuff, either MBAA stuff or whatever things they are. And he was like, just remember, try and take away 10% of something. Like, bet you'll know 90% of it, but try and take away 10%. And if you do,
it's a good benchmark to shoot for.
Yeah. So it's always trying to learn something from each other. And I mean, we all make beer at the end of the day, but how, like, the actual process, it's great to spitball and chat.
So this will be a really fun thing for the listeners to know, but this was kind of an anecdotal thing. This is not going to be a question, but I want you to explain why Roadhouse brought you in to scale up from a 7-barrel to a 30-barrel, because people in the brewery world have heard that. Like, if you're a craft beer drinker, we're going from a 7 to a 30-barrel brew house, and they're like, "Oh, cool, rad, more beer, yay!" But
which is true.
But Roadhouse did it right, and they brought in Max for a very specific reason. But I want you to explain what that process actually looks like and how complicated that is.
Well, I'm flattered. It's a great story, but a lot of it was right place, right time. I like most craft brewers, I started as a home brewer. I love to cook, and I love science. My degree's in a discipline of biology, and so the combination of those is great. So I started home brewing, and then I got a job at another large regional craft at Grand Teton Brewing, pretty much right out of college. And I started on the bottling line and started clocking out, and helping the brewers mill in, just doing whatever I could. And the brewmaster at the time at Grand Teton is a very dear friend of mine. He was the officiant in my wedding. He's a huge mentor for me. His name's Rob Mullen. He was probably brewing longer than I'd been alive when he hired me. He's one of these OG brewers.
He is quasi legend.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so he worked me through the whole brewery, was cellar manager, ran packaging for a while, kind of the de facto head brewer, was the overnight brewer on a 30-barrel brew house. I guess that's a key point, right? We had a 30-barrel brew house there, and large format fermenters and all that. And eventually, after we went to Siebel, Rob departed after a long tenure at Grand Teton. I became the brewmaster there. And then ultimately the Roadhouse team approached me. We had some great conversations about my philosophy with hops and brewing. And, one thing I always preach that I think really resonated with Roadhouse, one is my love for beer and food. So coming full circle back to the initial or previous conversation. But also just like this quest for continual improvement, right? Like not being stale and stagnant with a beer. Yeah, maybe that beer sold ton of volume 2 years ago, but craft changes every day. So kind of progressing that and changing it and seeing what's new and what's different. So, came in and read through all the recipes, and Colby, the other owner of Roadhouse, is an amazing home brewer. He's got some background in craft brewing himself. Award-winning home brewer, and I was looking through all these recipes, and it was that streamline and simplicity I think that people forget. So on our 7-barrel system, it's great. Yeah, you can like a 55-pound bag of malt, we're going to pull 10 pounds out of it, and we'll do it that way. So as I started scaling things up and saw our core beer, Wilson IPA, we do about, I think it's about 55% of our annual volume is this West Coast inspired IPA. And at the time I looked at the recipe, I was like, we're not going to weigh 40 pounds out of this bag. Whole bag goes, we're cutting the bag, like inventory,
right.
Ordering, we got to like streamline these things. So we came in or I came in and streamlined all these recipes, and, we're not going to put in 7.8 pounds of Citra in this dry hop. Let's round it one way or the other, and we're going to read.
That just sounds like a time suck.
Total time suck. Yeah. And inventory at the end of the month is a nightmare because you're like, I'm off 0.29 pounds, and going through that whole game. And then also too, moving up. And the quality and the lab standpoint of everything was another big thing. We invested a pretty solid 6 figures into our lab right when we opened the production facility, and we've had a full-time lab manager since we've been running that for 5 years, and helping come bring in the SOPs for everything and how to streamline both on a production scale and just moving through the whole mix. And so that's kind of where I landed with them, and it's been great.
Yeah, that's less than the Reader's Digest version of Scale Up.
Sure.
Yeah. But, man, it's always...
Are we ready for this?
Go for it. Guys,
it's after
we,
11 now, so
Max,
it's okay.
Max and I and Lisa
Tied one
last night tied one on. But we did get to go to Valkyrie and Proximo. And,
thanks for the call. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You know, I just wanted my, alone time with my friends.
Understood.
I wasn't too productive on a cell phone at that point anyway. I don't know. I don't know if any of us would have been able to.
Valkyrie's my jam. I love that place. Yeah.
It was overwhelming. They handed me
Right?
the menu and
Just look at that wall.
totally.
Yeah.
They're like, here, check out the menu. And I opened up to the first page and I was like, nope. Like I might have to come back and look at this when I could really focus.
Aaron, who owns Valkyrie, was on probably 3 or 4 episodes ago.
Yeah.
And he brought a wild turkey, a dusty turkey, he called it, that was distilled in 1979.
Wow.
I think it was.
Wow.
It was a 12-year at the time, so it came out like
it was 43 years old. Or
it was something like. I mean, it was. Oh my God, it was ridiculous.
and we only figured out how expensive the bottle was after we drank it.
And he
I was
kept
like,
being like, "Oh, here, have some more." And I knew, like, to an extent, I was like, "Man, okay, but like, I know what you're serving me." And he's like, "Hey, whiskey's made to be consumed." And I was like, "Okay."
I was a little bit more naive, and I was just like, "Yeah,
Give me more. So what we're drinking, I don't know if you, how big of a bourbon whiskey guy are you?
I love bourbon and whiskey. It's great. I might not be as in tune with all of it, but I do appreciate it.
So a group on YouTube called the Bourbon Junkies, they're fantastic to watch or whatever. They put up content. It's Dan and Sean are their 2 names. I joined their Patreon just to get some of their barrel picks. And so this came from Rebel, which I hadn't heard of, but it's out of Kentucky, but it's a weeded bourbon. And so this is one that they went up and picked. It's, distilled in Bardstown, so right in the middle of whatever that's called, the Bourbon Trail. Nice 113 proof. They call it, as you can see on the sticker, they call it Bourbon Junkies Pecan Pie.
nice."
So it's supposed to have some sort of a, sweet
It's got a little
pecan.
chocolate to it, little cherry.
It does. Did I interrupt? Were you about to ask a question when I said, "Are we ready for this?" Or are we?
I don't know. No, I was going to say something. It's always, focusing on, the community impact that Tulsa is going through and like our growth pattern and, growing pains and whatnot. It's always kind of scary to bring someone in from the outside and be like, yeah, so Valkyrie, really great bar, top 5 in the nation, maybe, possibly. Do you like it?
Yeah. Right. Because then you feel like you're almost like guilted into saying yes. It's like, yeah, it's great. It's like, no, but they do a great job.
It's something I've been, to even go back and give you some more answers to your first question, my impressions of Tulsa. I have been floored by just maybe for lack of a better term, but like the hipster vibe I've gotten, like it's these.
It's a little bit of Austin up here.
Yeah, totally. I was going to relate it to Portland, Oregon, being Pacific Northwest. But it's really blown my mind. Like where I've walked into a couple places, like Valkyrie last night, and we've got even some of the breweries we've went to, and it's like wow, like these are. I mean, these are impressive. These are beautiful places and well thought out and designed, and I could get into a lot of trouble in some of those bars for sure. Either financially
join the club.
or inebriated.
End of the month, you see your statement.
Welcome to our story.
God. What's funny about this, which I'll say this, you guys didn't experience it, but I've had some of it. It wasn't a new open when I brought it. It has changed quite a bit sitting with the neck pour on and letting the air get in there. And
really?
Yeah, I definitely like the sweetness on the back end was not there when I first opened it.
Oh,
which is a lesson to everyone at home. If you have a bourbon collection, like drink it, okay? And if you want to use it as investment, buy 2 bottles and drink one, save the other. But like do the neck pour, give it like a week, and then come back to it because it totally changes. Like with how it interacts. I'm not a scientist. I don't know why, but when it interacts with the air, something about it like
Max
changes.
Would probably be able to speak more to
I'm not
that
to put you
than
on the
me.
spot, but it
Like,
does happen.
It's
I
like
just don't know why.
oxidation kind of thing.
I would
probably.
imagine. I wish I knew more, but that's the first thing I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
Just from knowing what I know about producing alcoholic beverages. But it's lovely.
It is really good.
Yeah.
And it's gotten sweeter, I feel like, on the back end. Like originally there was a little bit of like an ethanol, like a little burn on the back end, but this for 113 proof, I could drink this all day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is not hot.
Kind of cool on the back of the tongue. It has, you know, you've got all of those sweet aromas, chocolate, raspberry,
Little baking spice.
little baking
yeah.
spices.
Yeah.
But I get a little bit of rye bread when
I
on
wonder,
the swallow.
does this tell me the,
Oh, yeah.
the mash bill?
Yeah. That's lovely.
No, it doesn't. I'm curious to know how much rye they put in that. That's interesting.
It probably is the wheat
Yeah, probably is.
that's making that flavor come through.
So I'm curious. You know, we like to ask people about establishing and building culture, and you know how you connect with your, you know, the people that live around you and just the community and all of that. Having so many different avenues in which you can connect with people, whether it's through the restaurant group, whether it's through the brewery, whatever. Have you learned anything about, I want to say how you establish culture, but you can't necessarily push it on people. You just have to provide it and hope that they buy in, right? But for people that listen that are entrepreneurs or bar owners or restaurant owners, have you specifically seen or heard or learned anything about how to properly connect with your town, your city, your area to really establish culture?
You know, I think most simply put, you know, in our VP of sales says this a bunch of times, but you know, we don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. So everything that we preach as a brewery and everything we support is stuff that we also really believe in, whether, you know, and there's plenty of things that Roadhouse Beer might be being served at that I'm there as well, because I care about whatever it might be, whether it's a fundraiser or a community event. So some things we've really honed in on are like really making sure that our brand is present at things that we believe in. So for example, Teton County Search and Rescue is a huge component of living in Jackson Hole. You get hurt in the mountains, whether you're visiting, you're a 30-year seasoned veteran. If you need help, they're going to come get you. And so that was something that we firmly believed in. One of our company mottos is live deep, and we're always kind of messing around with what does that really mean to all of us. But in this case, for me, you know, living deep is like we're getting outside, we're playing in the mountains, we're having a good time, we're recreating, and to have search and rescue there for us is something that we donate a fair bit of money back to. They have their own podcast, which is absolutely fantastic, and we're a supporter on that because we want to, you know, people to learn and understand from other people's mistakes. And so the ramen night I mentioned, we actually donated about 20% of each bowl back to search and rescue.
That's really cool.
So they can fly a helicopter, they can make sure the snowmobiles are ready to go in case someone has to get rescued. But also, you know, I think thinking about, you know, the cost benefit that we weigh all the time. You know, if we have a nonprofit who asks like, hey, you know, would you donate some beer for we're doing a fundraiser to, you know, raise money for X, and would you donate some beer to it? And thinking about that, you know, to someone who doesn't work in a brewery, 4 cases of beer just to give to someone, that might seem like a lot, but to have your product there and to give those 4 cases of beer to an organization that, you know, can sell them and raise money, even more money for their cause, is pretty big. And then people remember that too. Like, oh yeah, like Roadhouse is involved in this. And as a company ethos, like we're a B Corp certified brewery, which is really cool. So we were the 21st brewery in the world to be certified as B Corp about a year after we opened. And for those who don't know the B Corp world, it's a global organization which recognizes companies for their environmental and social justice movements. And so our brewery is very sustainable, and being in a beautiful part of the country with natural resources everywhere, the national parks, our rivers, our lakes, and, you know, brewing is not that environmentally friendly. Shocker. It hurts sometimes to see the water and everything we do.
90% water.
Totally. And so we do everything we possibly can to show that we're trying to preserve our little slice of heaven out in Jackson. So we have solar arrays on the roof. We have we recapture all of our chemicals and re-strengthen those, so we're not just putting high strength chemical down the drain and seeing where that's going to end up. We recapture all of our heat off of our brew house. It's cold as hell in Jackson. 10 months of the year, it's winter pretty much. You know, summer starts July 4th and it's over the first week of August, it seems, and it starts to get cold. So our cold room has a traditional reefer system in it, but we have louvers that open and close at night and pull in just the naturally cold air, so we're not burning natural gas and using energy to cool our cold room when we have the world's largest cold room at our fingertips.
Just open it up.
Yeah, so those kind of things are important to us, and you know, and then telling the story, right? That's a hard part too, is how do you tell a story without looking pretentious, being like, oh, you know, we're this B Corp.
Yeah, how do you market? How do you advertise?
Yeah, we do series, obviously social media
Sure.
is a huge component for us. We have some great people who are very talented at taking beautiful videos and photos, but even down to making sure that sign in the liquor store, the heavy traffic liquor store, is eye catchy and looks good. There's so many publications in Jackson too, that are on the bedside table of every hotel and see, Roadhouse, the pub and eatery on Town Square. That sounds great. 30 beers on tap. Wow, we should go, So just utilizing all those basic avenues that we can. And then obviously our, packaging too is huge, and thinking about, and that's your first point of advertising. When someone walks up to that cooler door, and there's 10 doors of IPA that are all fantastic. What's gonna?
So red truck's still there?
Sure is.
Okay.
Sure is. It absolutely is.
Yep.
We got to work on that. We had a small battery problem with it.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's a death trap, to say the least. It's a 3 on a tree, and my parents made me learn to drive a manual before I could drive an automatic transmission. But a 3 on a tree is something.
That's different. That's different. Yeah.
That's a whole other learning.
Definitely. So we've got that. We've got another fun toy. We've got a VW bus, the family vacation beer.
Okay.
I mentioned.
Yeah.
The logo of that is an old Volkswagen. I think the Vanagon, like your traditional hippie VW van with suitcases strapped on top. So we have one of those actually. It's all branded up, and we can drive that around.
That's awesome.
8-handle draft system in the back. So we take
how
that
cool
to
is that?
GAF. We take it to.
It's a great family
I need
vacation.
that.
It's a great family vacation. Yeah. So,
Is that for sale?
So yeah, it's I hope that answers that.
It does.
Questions.
It does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You want to wrap us up with the last question?
Sure. Yeah. Just from a oh goodness, I've lost that question and lost the thought. Fill the void for me.
Fill the
Sorry.
void.
Fill the
Okay,
void
so while he thinks of the question, for people that want to come visit, shoulder season versus not, do your hours change? Where can they find you? Social media handles, whatever just pub, how people can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Roadhousebrewery.com is a great place to find us and see what's going on. Our social media, our Instagram is pretty up to date. Facebook as well. I think those are Roadhouse Brewing Co.
Okay.
But if you search Roadhouse beer or something like that, I'm sure you'll come across it. Our hours don't change much. We have our tap room at our production facility. It's open Monday through Friday, about 4 o'clock until about 8 or so. No food is there. If you feel like bringing a snack, bring it on in, but just beer down there. And then the Roadhouse Pub and Eatery, that's where you should go.
Yeah.
Great food. We have our experimental brew house up there, 30 beers on draft. And the beers that we brew there legally can't leave that building because of Wyoming.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's the only place.
Literally tap room exclusive or whatever.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yep. And that opens 11:30 every day, about 9 at night or so.
Sure.
I highly recommend a reservation if you're going to come see us in the summer or even in the winter. It's not uncommon to see a 2.5-3 hour wait to get dinner in the summer. But pro tip again, come out after Labor Day, September and October. It's absolutely stunning. Bring a light jacket, but still pack your shorts. It is a fabulous.
And if people say, "Hey, I heard you on the Tasting Room podcast," you'll come out and do like a song and dance for them.
Absolutely.
And all that stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
The 6-pack in hand is.
There you go. There you go.
As a thanks for coming to see us. But yeah, come on. If anyone's ever in Jackson, please,
Absolutely.
let me know you saw us on this, and we'll roll out the red carpet.
Did I stall enough for you?
Oh yeah.
All right,
did.
we're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
My brain went to like a serious question, and I was just like, no.
I'm gonna drink more of this. Does anybody want more?
I'm good.
Yeah, it is. Oh well, fuck. It is like 11:30. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna wait.
So what's your favorite thing about being a brewer? And
Ooh, that's a good way to end it.
Tying in community into that, but what's your favorite thing about being a brewer?
Oh, there's a couple things. There's more of maybe the superficial side of it, where my wife, but at the time just my girlfriend, we were walking around a big music concert, a weekly concert that we have, and it's our beer that's there, and and she was like, "Wow, everyone's drinking the beer you made." And I didn't really think about it. My ego isn't really in this. I love doing what I do. It's just fun, and there's a great result at the end. But I really sat back there and looked at it and was like, wow, I do make this beer, or am very involved in
Sure.
making this beer. And that was pretty cool. And that was years ago, actually, even before I was at Roadhouse. And that's really stuck with me. And so it's pretty cool when I walk into a bar in Denver and I can see our beer on tap and I can tell, wow, yeah, someone's drinking our beer. And that's really cool. That's fun to see. Austin and I were talking about this a bunch too, but we do a lot of beer dinners at our brew pub. And my other favorite thing, kind of in this vein, is I love drinking good beer, eating good food with good people.
Mm-hmm.
There's like nothing on earth that makes me happier. My wife and I try and do little beer dinners at our house too, where I think it's her excuse, or she forces me to pull beer out of my cellar because it's absolutely out of control. She's like, yeah, we should do a beer dinner with our friends, and you should pull like 20 bottles out of the cellar, just like start trying to get rid of them. But just it's so fun to sit there and enjoy really cool beer and great food with people. So that's a part of my job that I absolutely love. But I absolutely love going to work. I mean, it's if you love what you do, you won't work a day in your life. Yeah, sure, is like cheesy and whatever we want to say, but like that's truly how I feel. I mean, I brew beer in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, with a group of people who I love to death, see more than my family, as all of us in brewing do, work crazy hours. And so I love that. I love walking into our brewery. I love the smells of a hot side operation going and the brew house running.
It never gets old.
Never gets old,
No.
ever.
I can smell it from here sometimes when they're brewing. It's great. Yeah.
And I just love that. And I love being in a building, making beer with people who I think trust me. I obviously trust them. And the fact that we can build a culture and work with each other to brew great beer is fantastic. And it's always different. That's another part that keeps it interesting. No day is the same. And that's a lot of fun, because I don't think I could show up to work and do the same thing every day. And walk
that
into
9 to 5
brewery.
cubicle thing doesn't work, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And there's just days where I just throw my hands up and have to walk away from my computer and be like, I need to go do something on the floor because I gotta go do something.
So those pick something up with my hands.
Yeah. Those are all the reasons I love beer.
It's a great answer.
It's a great industry to work in. The camaraderie, getting a chance to come out to Tulsa and brew with Austin, longtime friend. And then even, Austin took me around to some of the other breweries, and I'm a brewer, you're a brewer, and immediately we're friends. And that's a lot of fun too. It's a cool place.
So as we let you go, what's the beer you're holding on to in your cellar? What's the...
Oh, actually, it's a beer I bought when we were out in Germany. It's a Frank Bone product, Bone Goose, but it's his black label.
Okay.
In Belgium, I bought 4 cases of this beer, and they're 750s, and I shipped them back to myself because in Belgium they've got that like mail your beer services back to you. And I bought 4 cases of this beer. It is absolutely one of my favorite beers ever, and I try and drink one every quarter or so just to see. And I think the best buy date on the bottle is like 2048. So I'm hoping to have a couple like out.
How many's left? Do you have a few
I have
left?
about 2 cases left. All right. So I got to slow down. I got to pump the brakes a little bit.
If you're trying to get to 2048.
Totally. And I've got a couple of those stashed away in the very corner.
Maybe
of my
once every 2 years or something.
Exactly.
Now.
That's probably the trajectory I'm going to have to.
Right.
We're just going to have to go back to Belgium and buy some.
Or that. I mean, Or that.
Okay.
Darn. Well, that was good. You have anything else? We good?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for coming into town. And thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was fun chatting.
Absolutely. We'll be right back after the break.
Cheers.
Well, that was fun.
That was
I enjoyed that. Yeah.
That was cool. It's cool to see a perspective of, someone coming from a town that has literally gone from dirt roads. So when I was going to Jackson Hole for the first time, when I was probably 3 years old, the square where most of the
town
restaurants
square
are,
or whatever.
the town square was basically the only asphalt.
Wow.
So to put a little perspective of how much Jackson has moved forward. And so that was a really cool conversation about how that culture has exploded.
I can recommend 2 things. Drinking beer and bourbon at 11 a.m. on a Wednesday. Great start to hump day. And then, to visit Roadhouse when you go, because I've been to Jackson Hole once, and like we talked about, I didn't realize some of the establishments I ate at were part of that umbrella group, and then just the brew pub itself and the brew, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Group and their mantra as a company is just awesome.
Yeah,
they provide really cool stuff.
And if you go and you you ask and he comes out with the 6-pack, take a video of the song and dance that he does and send it to us because I just really want to see it. I want to judge his dancing moves.
Yeah, tag us and give us a little shout.
Fair enough. Well, that was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be back next week-ish. I think we're finally going to have Jake Miller on from Heirloom.
Hopefully.
He said he could do this week. He's feeling better. I saw him Sunday at the F1 watch party, but I think next week we're going to try to get him on.
Right on.
Cool. We'll see you guys then.
Cheers.